Everyone always talks about Super Saiyan, everyone talks about the Namek arc, and everyone loves to talk about the Cell games. But before any of that, Dragon Ball completely changed itself in one singular arc. And genuinely, I don't think people remember how insane the Saiyan Saga arc was. Because it wasn't just some new big villain, but it was a genre shift, a lore bomb. This moment made Dragon Ball stop being just an adventure story and a full-fledged out battle anime. Let's break down in a few parts why this was so crazy. And trust me, by the end of this video, you're gonna agree. Let's start with the most underrated twist in the entire franchise, and this doesn't get talked about enough. Goku wasn't just a strong young boy. He wasn't just a special guy. He wasn't even human. He was an alien the entire Dragon Ball series. Now, I know not everyone watched Dragon Ball first, so it didn't hit as hard for them, but imagine being a Dragon Ball fan. For years, you just thought this was some crazy monkey boy that was super strong and turned into a great ape, and now you realize he's a freaking alien? That is crazy. And not just a random alien, an alien from a dying warrior race. That's not a minor reveal. That completely rewrites all of Dragon Ball. And then OG Dragon Ball suddenly is hitting different now. I mean, what other show has a main character that you've watched for over 100 episodes and you didn't even realize he was an alien? I'm sure they exist, but they probably get a lot more credit for that plot twist than Dragon Ball does. And then his brother that we also had no idea he has shows up trying to recruit him to take other planets. That's a tone shift. Dragon Ball has its dark tone moments, but it's mainly lighthearted. This is a bit darker than anything that we really saw in Dragon Ball. Dragon Ball went from the tournaments, and I'll give you Demon King Piccolo, to a space invasion in like 5 episodes. And like, fans just accepted it. Like, I understand. I'm in the boat. I watched Dragon Ball Z first. I never watched Dragon Ball. But just put yourself in the shoes of someone who watched Dragon Ball first. That would be insane. And then it gets crazier. Raditz kidnaps Gohan, the new child that we were just introduced to. Goku's child, his first child. We ain't known him for more than 3 episodes. Gets kidnapped by his uncle. And then when they go to save him, the arch nemesis of the last series teams up with him. And then Goku dies. He doesn't die in the finale. Not in some heroic climax. This is the opening act of the freaking show. People don't give this enough credit for how insane this is. I mean, I don't know any other show where the main villain of the last show teams up and then the main character dies. And hold on, it doesn't stop there. Piccolo kidnaps Goku's child to train him for the upcoming threat. These words shouldn't even be in the same sentence. This is crazy. And the stakes feel higher than ever in any Dragon Ball show. I mean, you got 2 earth-ending threats coming in just a year. Goku's literally dead. Gohan's kidnapped. And the Z Fighters, quite frankly, just aren't on the level that Piccolo or Goku are. But the arc also does something that is just structurally brilliant. It splits up the narrative. You've got Goku training with a literal god that we just got introduced to, King Kai. You got Piccolo training Gohan in his own methods. And then Earth's best fighters are also training with Kami, preparing for this invasion. And in the background, we are seeing just how powerful Vegeta and Nappa are. They're wiping out planets for fun. This cross structure of these different POVs builds real tension and dread for the show. And the villains aren't mysterious where we have to be guessing, oh, how powerful are they really? We're seeing it in real time. And they're on their way rapidly, laughing about killing these innocent creatures. The arc doesn't just build up hype, it builds the inevitability of the Saiyans arriving, and you can almost feel the countdown in your chest. And it feels terrifying. Another thing that, you know, I see a lot of people yap about Gohan and Namek when he fights Raccoon, and that's probably traumatizing. What about the Saiyan Saga? I mean, he's 5 years old. Five. I started watching Dragon Ball when I was about 5. So he's, you know, fighting aliens and I'm watching a TV show. He gets kidnapped by a scary green man, thrown into the wilderness, and trained through fear and survival instinct alone. The Saiyan Saga created generational trauma for Gohan. And honestly, this moment in Dragon Ball is already planting the seeds for what Gohan becomes in the Cell Saga. You see it when he breaks out of Raditz's space pod. He's angry, and he's suddenly more powerful than Goku or Piccolo. So this training arc is one of the best in the series with Gohan, and it really shows you how powerful Gohan can be and foreshadows how powerful he's going to become. And you also see Gohan develop. He goes from this crybaby, literal infant never fought to a toughened warrior who, yeah, he still freezes up in battle because he's 5, but he's more prepared and ready. But that just makes what's coming up all the more worse. I understand these aren't the most hype character or most beloved characters ever, but Nappa caused a massacre. Yamcha dies to a freaking Cyberman. Tien gets his arm chopped off and dies trying to kill Nappa. Chaozu literally blows himself up and does no damage. And then Piccolo, again, I would like to reiterate, the big bad boss of the previous show, saves the main character who he hated, son, and dies. This is a carnage. This is an all-out war. And the craziest part of all of this massacre, the main villain of the arc, Vegeta hasn't moved a muscle. He hasn't lifted a finger. Nappa was the warm-up, and his body count on Earth is just rising by the minutes. This arc isn't even at its climactic peak yet. And then finally, after what felt like so long, Goku arrives. And yeah, he cleans up Nappa pretty quickly, but that's not what I want to focus on. This is the introduction of the second most iconic character in all of Dragon Ball, Vegeta. Arguably, the greatest protagonist in all of anime. But this version of Vegeta isn't loud. He isn't theatrical. He's just cold-blooded. Nappa gets embarrassed. And instead of Vegeta giving out a hand to a fellow Saiyan that there's already limited numbers of, he kills him without hesitation. This establishes just how cold and terrifying the original Vegeta actually was. And this is the moment Dragon Ball truly found its rival dynamic that blew up the series. Vegeta isn't just a stronger Saiyan. It's his completely different ideology from Goku that makes this so special. Vegeta has the utmost Saiyan pride for his race. And Goku just found out a year ago that he was even this race. So he probably has zero pride in the race. He probably doesn't even give a damn. But Vegeta's ruthless strength is literally anti-Goku. They were destined to be rivals. And without this arc, the entire show would be different. Just imagine going through all of Dragon Ball Z without Vegeta. I genuinely don't think it would be even remotely the same. Honestly, the show probably wouldn't even be that good. So, are you starting to see why this arc is so important and deserves the hype? Now, just imagine what I'm about to talk about next. Not only do we have crazy plot twists, great character introductions, and high stakes, we have insane innovation and creativity. The Kaioken is so iconic. I do not care if Super Saiyan is better or whatever. When I was a boy, this is a true story. When I was a little lad, when I would get tired, I would pretend to use the Kaioken. And I would maybe know it's gonna suck right now, my body's gonna hurt when I'm done, but I'm gonna get through it. I know I'm not the only kid that did that. This move was so iconic, it helped me through life. It was a temporary risk-based multiplier that caused self-damage for an advantage. And then Goku pushed it beyond its limits, which had us all biting our nails, bro. King Kai was tweaking when he used Kaioken times 3 and times 4. And then let's not even get into the iconic beam clash that everyone knows. This is probably the most iconic beam clash in the series history. And that's just the Kaioken. Now we move on to the Spirit Bomb, or the Genki Dama. This move is probably, you could argue, it's more iconic than Kamehameha. I don't think it's more recognizable, but you could argue it's more iconic. And it's used in every single Dragon Ball Z arc, excluding the Cell Saga. It's used against Vegeta. It's used against Frieza. And it ultimately defeats Kid Buu and wraps up the series. But this was its introduction right here. And it's a move that requires the trust and powers of others, which is the overarching theme of Dragon Ball in the first place, is that trust will overcome any strength issues that someone has. This move is thematic, and it matters. This move is the antithesis of, oh, the arc's climax is here. And just when you think, finally the arc is over, they did it. Vegeta reveals his giant ape form, the Ozaru. Again, those who watched Dragon Ball first went through the entire series wondering, how is this possible? How is this kid turning into an ape? And then it's finally displayed how powerful it can be once controlled. And my favorite part about this series is Goku was getting clobbered. Goku alone would not have won this fight. Krillin and Gohan come back to help. Yajirobe cuts off Vegeta's tail. As much as Yajirobe's a freaking clown, he saved the world with that. They are not beating Great Ape Vegeta. And not only that, Gohan also goes Great Ape, which we briefly saw previously training with Piccolo. And that's kind of the last thing that ends Vegeta, was Gohan landing on Vegeta. This was a team win. Every single person had to do every single thing perfectly in order to achieve this win. The Spirit Bomb had to be bounced back by Gohan and thrown by Krillin. Yajirobe had to cut the tail off. And finally, if Gohan didn't go Great Ape and crush Vegeta, they're probably all still dying. So it is a perfect mesh of everything just coming together. Now, let's tie everything with we just talked about together. You got Goku being revealed that he's an alien. You've got the main character dying immediately. We've introduced a ton of Saiyan lore. Dragon Ball turned into more of a fighting anime than an adventure anime. You massacred the entire supporting cast. We introduced the greatest protagonist in all of anime. We debuted the Kaioken, debuted the Spirit Bomb, and had an insane finale that required everyone's effort. And people don't put respect on this arc. People act like this is the worst arc in Dragon Ball just because it didn't have Super Saiyan. This created the entire foundation that makes Super Saiyan even matter. So yeah, other arcs may be slightly more iconic, maybe even a little bit better written, but people need to put respect on the Saiyan Saga's name because this is just crazy. If I've made you view the Saiyan Saga differently, please like and subscribe and let me know in the comments below. Do you like the Saiyan Saga or do you think it's the worst one? I read and react to every single one. And if you enjoyed this deep dive, click the video on the screen right now on my deep dive of the exact moment that Vegeta really stopped being himself. I'll see you guys in the next video.